And here we are. Looks like we're connected into our three social medias that we podcast to. It is Wednesday night. It is 7 p.m. And it is time for the South Carolina NORML Cannabis Conversation. This is the second Wednesday of the month. And as we do every second Wednesday of the month, it's pretty much our open public meeting. We kind of go over the same stuff on our public meeting cannabis conversations, pretty much the same thing each time. We will, I dropped it off here somewhere. We'll talk a little bit about national legislative news, state legislative news, what's going on chapter business-wise, and any upcoming events. Before we kick it off too far, though, let me kind of click over to this other spot here. And as we normally do during our welcome, I'd like to say first off, welcome to everybody that's joining me here on the podcast. And also a reminder that all of our meetings are an environment of education and awareness and are not an open market for the sale, purchase, or distribution of cannabis. We do not encourage or condone illegal behavior of any kind. Also, at this time, I usually like to remind you, follow our social media. We do post a little bit more to Facebook. You can find us at Facebook. Search out South Carolina NORML. Also on Instagram and Twitter. And don't forget to go and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Hit that little bell notification button. That'll let you know when we're going live next every Wednesday. Beyond that, I also like to remind you to visit our website at scnorml.org. That's scnorml.org. And drop down banner. I think the one drop down button or menu is the About menu. Down at the bottom of that, you'll see a link to our sponsors. Please support our sponsors because they support our efforts to reform marijuana laws here in South Carolina. All right, let me take a quick peek here. We have Nancy's on with us already. Howdy, Nancy. Welcome. Thank you for saying hello. Click, click, click. I keep hitting the wrong buttons, of course. I kind of already talked about our intro and agenda, but yeah, our agenda today, we'll talk a little bit about what's going on national level. As you know, not a lot going on at state level, but there is a special election coming up. We're going to talk about one of the candidates in that special election a little bit. And there is a little bit of interesting minor updates federally. And then we'll talk just briefly about sort of our hopeful plans. We're kind of doing exploratory right now to see if we can get the support to do a decrim petition at a local municipality. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. Time do we have? What time do we have? 7:04, and of course, somewhere over here I have like a little agenda sheet that I almost never follow very well. But I have been trying to do 3 trivia questions each week. Sometimes I only get 2, occasionally 1. I don't think I've ever forgotten them all completely. But we'll pick up on the one that I missed last week. This is a music trivia category. This was a 40-point question. So this one's moderately harder, apparently. Jamaican reggae singer Peter Tosh wrote this marijuana theme. Was it legalize it, get up, stand up for your rights? Which one of those 3 songs would it be? Legalize it, get up, stand up, and or stand up for your rights. All right. As I mentioned quite often on our while we're doing our trivia questions, this is an opportunity. If you have a business and you'd like to sponsor our trivia question, it gives us an opportunity to mention your business name and hopefully bring a little business. And of course, it would help support our organization. With that, let's hit the answer right away. Oh, almost right away. Got to say, evening, y'all, to you too, Ina. Thank you for joining us. Been a while. Glad to see you. And I want to turn off that banner. All right, let me go ahead and hit the answer here real quick. Music category. Let's see what we got as answers in the category. Music category, 40 points. Jamaican reggae singer Peter Tosh wrote this marijuana theme. Was it Legalize It, Get Up, Stand Up, or Stand Up for Your Rights? And the answer is Legalize It. I think the rest are lyrics within the song. I may be wrong. Wouldn't be my first time, especially when it comes to music. I have enough going on with the voices in my head that I don't always listen to music. All right. Thank you for your guesses there. And let's go ahead and turn off this little banner. Like I can find it. All right. Hey, I'm going to scroll down because I think I might actually have a banner for this one. Nope, must have gotten rid of that banner. All righty. Yeah, Nancy had mentioned Stand Up for Your Rights, and I had mentioned not a reggae fan. I don't know a lot of them either. I have the answers written on a little card right in front of me. So I cheat just that little bit, or a lot, however you want to look at it. All right, let's go ahead and get into it a little bit this evening. Sorry, a little cotton mouth, one quick sip. Federal level news. What am I looking for? Federal level legislative news. Not a lot going on. If you were here the last time we were talked about federal update type stuff, we're talking safe banking. That's kind of the discussion right now. And so basically what we're looking for in safe banking, do I even have that written down here? What I've really written down on safe banking, something about Section 10. If you delve down into this stuff, apparently Section 10 has some things that may be big benefits or beneficial to Democrats. If you happen to have your senators, you know, may want to point this out to them if you've got a Democratic senator. Either way, we do ask you to contact your senators and ask them to support the Safe Banking Act. So this is your federal level senators. Again, you can click through our website on our Take Action page, and I think you have a link right to an action alert for safe banking. But that one is getting some movement. We're looking to try and get sponsors on that one, and a vote in the banking committee. That we've been talking about, since before the 4th of July break. I know there was discussion that they were hoping for this markup session on that one. And so, you know, like most legislation, it kind of languishes along. The other thing I did kind of hear a bit about COA. I always call it the Cannabis Administration and Opportunity Act. That was sponsored by, I forget the three now, Schumer and a couple of others. Anyway, may be brought up after safe banking moves on. And they may be re-examining the tax structure in that one. If you remember, the tax structure in that one was a two-tier structure. If you were a small business making like less than 20 million a year versus a larger business making more than 20 million a year, and it was graduated over the first 5 years of the act from about, if I remember correctly, I think it was like 5% the first year, and up to like 25% by the 5th year, 5% raised every year. Half that number if it was for below 20 million, so up to 12.5% for small businesses. So there's no promise of that, but there is apparently indication from one of the aides that they may be re-examining the tax structure of the Cannabis Administration and Opportunity Act. All righty. Oh, what did I miss here? Josh came in. Hey, Josh, great to see you. Hi to you too, my friend. And a response back from Bob Chapman. Hey there, Bob. Hello to Josh and to Nancy and to Ina as well. Thank you all again for joining us tonight. Any thoughts, questions, comments on those two pieces of legislation? The only other ones that I really are to talk about right now, the Cure Act, which is, if I understand correctly, an insurance legislation, which may be included. I think I have to go and look that one up, and I'm not going to dig through my pile at the moment here. I believe that's sort of for insurance to cover medical cannabis in medically legal states. There's also some Veterans Issues Acts that, if they have not already been reintroduced, which I have to look into. Probably should have before I called tonight, but anyhow, they're not issues that are like top of the scale at the moment. So we've got time to sort of wait and see how those kind of bills progress. So again, kind of main focus priority at this time is going to be the Safe Banking Act, trying to get Senate support for both sides of the aisle. Hopefully, what this is for the most part, there's other parts to it, but as far as for cannabis, it's to allow legal cannabis, businesses to use the banking system without threatening the banks that they're going to be, charged with conspiracy and racketeering, I believe, and that kind of stuff, because they're, allowing a cannabis business to bank with them. So yeah, that's the main one. Don't forget our action alert. Actually, I'm going to double check that. We should have a link out here for you. I do not have those right on the top of my page, so let me pull them up for me from National. Hopefully they have theirs more at the top of their page. There's the one I'm looking for. I'll get this updated to ours in just a few minutes after our call is over. But this is the link that you will want to use. All right. I think I'm back. I apologize for that. I did not prepare and kind of get it set up on my phone to kind of recover in case it did exactly this. Which, if you've been on the call with me before, you guys know my computer just like to randomly quit, lock up, freeze up at the most inopportune times. So I apologize for that. I hope you're all able to get back here with me. I'm going to take a real quick look at this, and that's what I did wrong. I put in the wrong email address when I tried to log in. All right. Bear with me. I've got wait. I don't know what other tabs closed up on me here. I had blah. Anyway, my apologies. So I think I still have a couple of people here on the call with me. I'm going to look at this code real quick and try and just give myself a backup in case it happens again, which it shouldn't happen again this quickly. 77. All right, there's a backup just in case we need it. Now, let me go back and find the other thing I was going to talk about tonight. We were talking about a Safe Banking Act. That's what I was doing. I was getting ready to drop you a link in there. Let me see if I can find that in my history now. 10 tabs, open them all. There we go. Now, let's hope this doesn't lock up while I try and drop it in the chat here again. This is Safe Banking. Contact your senators. Boom, boom to Facebook and to YouTube. So go ahead and click on those. You'll be able to put in your information there. It will tell you who your senators are, and it will give you a pre-written little letter, which you are able to edit to fit your own wording, that kind of thing. So there is that Safe Banking Act. That's the one we are kind of pushing at the moment at federal level. I haven't asked. I haven't heard. I keep wondering what Nancy's going to do with her State Reform Act, being that I'm in her district here, Nancy Mace. I'm always kind of curious if she's going to move forward. When I spoke to her, was that in April? May? Whenever she opened her new office in Mount Pleasant, I went to the, grand opening of the office. And she mentioned she was going to reintroduce it in a light version, whatever that meant. My assumption what that meant was it would not really be included any social equities for people that have been arrested, expungements, stuff like that. That would be my guess, but again, that's only a guess. So there is other pending or upcoming cannabis legislation at federal level. We're just having to keep an eye on that as things move forward. Let me look here in the chat, see if we have any questions on any of that kind of stuff. No questions on safe banking or on any federal level legislation at the moment. We did talk about one last week. Oh, that was a state legislation for a different state. Never mind. Where are we at? All right. Well, I'm going to hit our second trivia question a little bit early tonight, just so I don't forget. We'll go ahead and move on to that one. We'll talk a little bit about what's going on state level, and then I'll tell you a little bit about what my thinking is on some municipal stuff going on. This one's a 50-point question, so it's probably a little bit harder. It's a movies category. Why do I sometimes think I've seen these before? Movies category, 50-point question. What are the names of the superhero identities of Jay and Silent Bob in the 2001 movie Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back? Was it Blunt Man and Chronic? Was it Smokey and Chronic? Or was it Chronic and Blunt Man? I'm easily confused. Movies category. Leave your answer in the comment section if you would. Movies category 50-point question. What are the names of the superhero identities of Jay and Silent Bob in the 2001 movie Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back? Was it Blunt Man and Chronic, Smokey and Chronic, or Chronic and Blunt Man? Okay, what did I do? I closed the comments altogether. I can't see nothing. All right. Well, we'll fill the answer right here right away. But is again 50-point question. I'm very amused if you can't tell. What are the names of the superhero identities of Jay and Silent Bob in the 2001 movie Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back? The answer is Blunt Man and Chronic. All right. Let me tuck this back in here. And that gets us through two of our 3 trivia questions tonight. Look at that. We are running a little early tonight, but try and find a little something to talk about. Let me go back and close up those pages that I was looking at. Actually, I'm going to leave those open to remind myself to update our Take Action page. But what I will share with you on this one is when I said there's not a whole lot going on right now in South Carolina. I mean, there's not. We do have some municipal elections coming up. And we have a special election coming up. Apparently in a redistricting, there is a new district, District 42. Let me see if I could find a little bit more info on this before I share too much. There's what I'm looking for. All right, there is a special election for Senate District 42. That will be in November. And that one, let me just kind of present this, share the screen with you real quick. There we go. I don't think this page tells me anything more than that. This is the SC Votes page. This was posted back on June 21st. November 7th, there will be a special election. Charleston County, Dorchester County, which are the counties that are encompassed by District 42. I thought this would tell me a little bit more about upcoming elections. Who the candidates were. There we go, November. There are, as you'll see here, you'll see a lot of municipal elections going on this November. That's why I'm not fighting the special election, because it's kind of hidden amongst all these municipal elections. that is pretty much what happens in this particular election year. As you see, there's quite a few of them. And now, mind you, city elections are not unimportant. And towns, you'll see there's towns here. I don't know why I'm not finding the special election a little easier. But anyway, one of the candidates, and I'm hoping maybe we can get him onto the program later on as we get closer to election time. Is Representative Dion Tedder. He is running for Senate District 42. And the reason I bring up Representative Tedder is he's already been a representative, and I believe it's District 109, or is currently a representative. There we go at the scstatehouse.gov. But with the redistricting, I don't know what that. I believe 42 is sort of a new district with the redistricting, if I remember correctly. It was sort of moved to the Charleston area from around the Columbia area. So anyway, one of the reasons I bring up Representative Tedder, and I'm hoping that we get him on the program. As I scroll down through his information, you get this big blue bar here. It says Dion Tedder's priorities: education, affordable housing, criminal law reform. Criminal law reform is a little bit of what we are interested in. Tedder sponsored a bill amending South Carolina law to prohibit the stop and search of individuals based solely on the scent of marijuana. Personally, I think the wording should be cannabis, but, and we've seen this legislation before. We've probably talked about it on the program, on the podcast in the past. It's not for a lack of trying from some of our legislators. There is legislation out there. If you go to scstatehouse.gov, you go to the little search bar, click on, I think it's search bills, and put in the word marijuana, and you'll get quite a few of them pop up. Like I said, my desk is a mess. I'm not digging for it right now, but I do have kind of an ongoing list. As you know, most people know the Compassionate Care Act here, Senator Tom Davis's bill, which is a Senate version bill. There's also a House version bill of that, companion bill, and I blanked now on who that sponsor was in the House. Somebody may know and be able to pop it in the chat there. But it isn't, like I say, for lack of trying from some of our legislators to put these bills out there. We have this where smell of cannabis should not be reason to stop and search, somebody to suspect them of a crime, because under the 2018 Farm Bill, hemp, even in flower version, no matter what Ellen Wilson says, is a processed product. And should be available to people here in South Carolina to consume in a manner that they desire. And if that's smoking, then let it be smoking. But it shouldn't be assumed by a police officer that they're committing a crime if they're just smoking CBD hemp. So that legislation's out there. We have also seen Mia McLeod's bill to basically decriminalize the state of South Carolina, and to, I believe, even build a cannabis market infrastructure. There's quite a few bills that they almost seem to be carbon copies of one another by a couple of the different Democratic legislators to decriminalize simple possession, or there's some state level legislation to protect vets and their right for cannabis. So not for lack of trying, it's because, again, as I've said on the program a number of times, these bills are generally sponsored by the Democratic side of the aisle and not the Republican side of the aisle. Most of the committees are then chaired by members that are on the Republican side of the aisle and not the Democratic side of the aisle. And so there's kind of little interest for them to prioritize these bills um, and move them forward. And I mean, really, they should be bipartisan bills. We have seen some. Oh, geez, I'm forgetting now because we're not kind of in the heat of session right now. But there was that one that was a bipartisan sponsored bill to, I believe, decriminalize. Um, but again, it's a matter of then getting sponsors, co-sponsors onto your bill, um, and getting the chair of whatever committee or committees that it might be in to agree to move it forward. And what that generally takes is the constituency of these particular legislators to urge them. The biggest thing I hear on most cases when the legislators are asked, why they're not moving cannabis legislation forward, they say, well, my constituents aren't interested in that. That's not what I'm hearing from my constituents. So we need to be those constituents that contact our legislators and not be afraid to speak up and let them know that we support cannabis law reform here in South Carolina. I mean, yeah, I've had people tell me, well, I don't want to do that. I'm kind of afraid to do that because I don't want to get on some government watch list. And they're going to, next thing you know, I'm going to be getting pulled over by my, local Johnny Law. And then he's going to say he smells cannabis, whether I have any or not. I haven't smoked in my car for years. And you see that. I watch way too many videos on civil rights based kind of videos on YouTube. And yeah, it's sort of amazing sometimes when out of the blue, some officer will just go to the, I think you smell like marijuana and I'm going to search you. Like, is that a certified sniffy nose? Same thing with the dogs. 80% of the times that they claim the dog's hit on something, nothing's found. 80%. And that's when the dogs indicate. So what's that tell me? It tells me that these dogs are trained to indicate when their handlers tell them to indicate, whether they found anything or not, because they're going to get rewarded for indicating. What our government won't do to criminalize the citizens of our nation. That's what basically what laws are. Is our rulers, try to criminalize us and take away our freedoms because we don't behave exactly the way they think we should behave. Not all of us want to go out and be a bunch of. Never mind. What do we got here? Interesting question, Bob. Do you agree we need pro-reform members of the South Carolina General Assembly to form a South Carolina Cannabis Caucus? I personally, I think it would be a great idea. Whether it's, I mean, we know we've got the federal level cannabis caucus. There's a Senate cannabis caucus. I don't know if it's congressional. I think it's a congressional cannabis caucus. So it may be both House and Senate. It would be kind of interesting to see if we could get, get some legislators to agree to form a caucus for cannabis. Never know. I mean, I would love to see it because, like I mentioned, there are a number of legislators who repeatedly, are sponsoring legislation. Todd Rutherford, that was one of the names I was thinking of earlier. Just kind of came back into my head. pretty regularly. Every session is sponsoring cannabis-related legislation. I believe he's also sponsored the one of the veterans-based, decriminalization um, bills. Uh, so it's not something new. It's something he's been doing before. What I don't have, and what I'd love somebody to do for me, because I just don't know if I have it in me to do, and I've got so many other things I'm working on. I'd love somebody to like create us a spreadsheet, maybe a working document that we could share through Google Docs or something like that, with all the different legislators, very similar to our Smoke the Vote guide. Um, Maybe even using the Smoke the Vote guide of a starting point, because we do have some information in there on what legislators do and do not support certain aspects of cannabis law reform. In the Smoke the Vote guide, we can, uh, it's sort of generic, but we can indicate whether they're supporters of medical or whether they're supporters of decrim, whether don't know if there's a click for just full legalization. I might be. Um, there's a couple of different like buttons we can click that'll highlight their support, and then there's a lot of those that are left blank. We just don't know. Um, Usually, especially around election time, we will send out um, emails into our letters contact, try and reach out to the candidates and find out what their positions are, so that then if they do win the seat, that information would carry over to our Smoke the Vote guide. A lot of incumbents, especially on the Republican side, aren't interested in responding to our questionnaire, so we just don't know what exactly their position is without sort of, I guess, diving into the votes on the medical bills, and seeing how they voted. Which again, if we have somebody that would love to do that research for us and sort of compile it, it would be so beneficial, um, to help us kind of know who to ask for help, maybe, or who to avoid asking for help, kind of things. So if you're out there and you're into that stuff, I mean, geez, spreadsheets have been around for decades. I still don't know how to do it. I don't know how to create one and be able to store it and I don't know. I would think I should know better, but I don't. So I apologize for that, but that's one of my failings is spreadsheets. Um, oh, look at all those other tabs open over there. All right, let me turn off this share screen. Oh, I do want to see if I can dive down in here. When I talked about Tedder's cannabis law reform, again, he's the one that sort of sponsored, at least one of the ones that sponsored a no stop and search for smell. I don't know if his Learn More Takes is actually out to that bill. So that would be House Bill 4610, which I know we've talked about before, introduced back in January of 2022. So that was previous to the current session we're in. Okay. All right, let me go ahead and turn that one off here. So, we don't have a lot of election talk for November, unless, of course, you have a city council, town council, and you know that there are some members in your city or town council that may be supportive of a decrim ordinance in your city or town. Because there's two ways to do a local decrim ordinance. You can either do a voter petition signature drive, where you start getting the voters in that particular community to sign your petition. You get the required number of signatures, maybe plus a couple to make sure you get them. Send them off to the voter registration board. They verify the signatures. make sure, verify that they're registered voters in that particular locale. And if you get the signatures, at that point, it should go onto the ballot for voting. So then the next phase of one of those things is not only going out and getting the signatures. I mean, that's phase one. Go out, get the signatures, get people collect those signatures. But then there's also phase two, when it is election time. And if we do one now, I mean, we're talking about doing one this kind of winter locally here close to Charleston. It would go on next November's presidential election calendar for next November. So it would go on that ballot, which generally brings good turnout. But again, when you're doing a local ordinance like this, you also want to sort of market to that local community, to the voters, especially that would support your ordinance, to get out and vote yes on, such and such an ordinance. So that's the phase two, is the get out and the vote part. Not only get out and grab signatures, but then the get out and the vote part. So we are still kind of in the early phases of it, because I'm not sure I'm going to find the support in that community to make it happen. I know there's a few locales that we can already, kind of hold a few small events at to collect signatures, but we'll keep you posted on that, because I'm really hoping we can do that in that community this year, starting like right after Halloween. So we'll kind of keep you posted. Beyond that, I got not a lot I can confirm with you. We did our last reggae festival at the James Island County Park. As many as you know, I worked there, and I also got in trouble for putting our sign out. And I kind of resisted and pushed it a little bit. And anyway, I did give him an out. I said, look, you get the park manager over here to tell me to put it away, and I'll put it away if he's going to violate my rights. At least I'll make turn it into an educational opportunity down the road, and hopefully teach him a little bit about the First Amendment. But yeah, there's that. Not everybody likes to hear our message, and quite often they're going to try and restrict our right to share our message. I mean, basically, I put the sign up because I invited you all to come and join me, and I figured you're going to need to find a way to find me. You'd see the sign. It's no different than in my opinion, I don't think it's any different than if I had a church group. Imagine me with a church group. But anyway, if I had a church group and I invited my church group friends to come and enjoy some reggae music, and said, look, I'm just going to put this little, church group sign out on the back of my chair, hang it, because that's what I did. I hung it from the back of my chair, and say, hey, church group, we're over here. But so it was kind of interesting. We'll see how that plays out. Bob, out of the corner of my eye, I'm seeing this question again about the Cannabis Caucus. I'd be curious. Do me a favor, if you would, kind of look into that. Look into how maybe we could persuade them or invite them to create such a caucus, and let me know if there's something maybe you think we can do to inspire them. I'd be curious. I would be curious, because I know there are supporters, some more than others. But that would be definitely interesting. Otherwise, I did also mention, I think last week, I don't know, kind of talking about doing a picnic, maybe in October, maybe in North Charleston. But I've been just so sidetracked with other stuff. I mean, be quite honest with you, I'm in sort of that time of year, as many of you have seen in the past, we're kind of in between any legislative stuff at the state level, and there's not a whole lot going on at federal level. And I start thinking about other aspects of what we need to do. And to be quite honest with you, the past couple of weeks, I've been thinking about storing our stuff. I told my board I wanted to spend some of our donations on a shed, and they kind of didn't want me to at the moment. So at the moment, I just kind of took it out of my own pocket, and I put together a shed, and I'm building a little rack to hold tote boxes in, and we're going to get all this stuff basically out of my house so I can free up 2 of my rooms. Not that they're taking up all the space in 2 rooms, but they're causing some clutter in both of those rooms, and I just need the stuff out, and I need it to be able to be stored in this sort of a safe and yet still accessible manner. So I think I've got that kind of resolved, but it's like with this heat, you all know what I'm talking about. With this heat, it's hard to spend a whole lot of time outside doing any kind of work. So, sheds up. It took me a while. I got one that didn't have a floor in it, so I had to build a base and, the floor and then the shed. And then once I got the shed in and I started putting stuff in, I'm like, oh man, all this is going to be a pile of stuff that I can't get at because I'm going to have to unload everything to get it. So what I did is I'm finishing up a rack that'll hold about 9 tote boxes. And right now we use 4 of them on a regular basis, and then we have other stuff in cardboard boxes. So I'm hoping this rack will be able to hold these totes and hold most of the stuff. And utilizing the rack, I won't have to dig down, move 2 of them to get the bottom one. I can just slide the bottom one off the rack and access a little bit easier. Because that's how I've had it in my house, is I'd stack them 2 or sometimes 3 or whatever, and have to what I want maybe in the bottom, and then we're gonna inventory everything and hopefully be able to mark it on the front of the tote so that we know what's in each one and make life a little bit easier so that when y'all call in and or go online and order a new T-shirt or something like that, I can find it a little easier and it can not be cluttering up my home so much. So there's all that fun stuff. Let me go ahead and close this whole thing here. And sorry about that. I'm just kind of moving some things around on my screen. So yeah, believe it or not, like I say, I'd get out and I'd work a little bit here, a little bit there. It'd take me quite a while to kind of get this project done. I'd have to go back on Facebook and see when I posted the day that everything finally arrived as far as most of the parts. But it's coming along. I mean, it will be done soon. The official new world headquarters of South Carolina NORML. I'm hoping, fingers crossed, it gives things some storage. And then I can start thinking about stuff besides storage. And like I said, I'm hoping to organize maybe a picnic, get together, covered dish, bring your favorite something or another. We will keep you posted on that. My board has been crazy busy with the summer going on, with raising their families, all that kind of stuff. So it's been a little challenging to plan events. And I got to admit, to be quite honest with you, I mean, we did plan on being at these reggae nights 4 nights. I think I saw one of you come out. I mean, I know I saw one of you come out. But that, I don't know if that speaks to our lack of promoting these things, the fact that we don't pay advertising on Facebook or whatever, because Facebook doesn't like what we advertise. So a lot of times they just tell us no. Oh, you can't promote that. No. Even though we say we're advocacy group, they'll shut us down. And then I've had it happen where I'll promote a time sensitive thing. Oh, this is coming up this weekend. And they'd shut it down as soon as I posted the paid ad, and I'd appeal it. And as soon as the event was over, they'd kind of look at the appeal and go, oh, you're right. Yeah, okay. But by that point, it was moot. The ad I wasn't going to run an ad. Censorship from social media, on Cannabis, which to me is really ridiculous. You type in the word marijuana or cannabis in the search bar in social media, especially like on Facebook, I found, and you would think you would find a lot of stuff, and nothing found, or only the groups you already belong to, or something like that. So yeah, quite a bit of censorship when it comes to cannabis out there. All right, well, we're kind of going to guess it's time to wrap it up. As always, I'm going to ask you to kind of follow us on social media. Definitely reach out to us if you have any great ideas on how we can sort of change things here in South Carolina, or if you're in the Charleston area and you think you want to really get deep dive and really get involved in a signature drive and petition process and a get out the vote segment down the road in a local small town here. It may be meaning going door to door, banging on doors. Will you sign our petition? That's kind of, I think, what we're talking about. If we can get one town in South Carolina to decriminalize the simple possession of cannabis, that's going to make some news. And that might inspire another small town and another small town. Kind of interesting because I watched the program a couple of weeks ago, 60 Minutes. It was probably on something like that. But it was talking about AI, artificial intelligence. And I think it was talking at first pretty much about Bard, which I think is Google's AI, text kind of AI. But somebody else had talked to me about ChatGPT. So I went out and I've been starting to play with these things a little bit. And it's kind of intriguing, some of the stuff that it'll sort of lay out or tell you. Or good example is, I'm interested in this process of municipal ordinances here in South Carolina. And although the AI stuff is limited to whatever's been loaded into it, it does not access the internet and Google search, stuff like that. It's all kind of like preloaded into its memory. Lots and lots of information. But I mean, I'll ask it a simple question about explain the process, and it will within seconds kind of give you a step-by-step breakdown on the process of voter-initiated ballot initiatives. So I'm finding some of it kind of intriguing. I'm also understanding a little bit more on why the writers and actors and stuff like that are concerned about AI and how it's going to affect their industry and their paychecks. And I mean, this version of it, the text version of it for the writers, absolutely can understand, and all this information it got from somewhere. So we don't know, is it's really plagiarizing, or then again, where do we all get our information? Develop it. So I think they say something like there are no new ideas, just variations of old ones or something like that. But don't know. Anyway, 7:57 I'm showing on the screen. I'm going to thank you all for joining me again tonight. Let me see if there's any last minute comments here. Not seeing any. So I'm going to call it for this evening. Keep an eye out in the next couple of weeks. Like I said, I think as we get closer to elections, I need to find any local candidates. So if you know of any in small towns, cities across the state, email me. Let me know. Hey, this particular city council member is running for city council, or this city council candidate or something like that. Said they'd be interested in decriminalizing cannabis in this town. Let me know. Let me know. I will reach out to them. I'll see if we can get them on the program. We'll see if we can talk to them about their opinions and their platform. Let me know, because that's pretty much that's a little tougher one than state level candidates. And again, the only ones we're going to have this season, this November, are the special election for District 42, Senate District 42. I do hope to have, again, Representative Tedder on, and we will see what other candidates are running in that race and what their position was at the time as well. Um, Otherwise, that's all I kind of got for you tonight. I'll see if I can come up with something a little bit more interesting next week. Don't forget, follow us on social media. I do post more to Facebook, as I always let you know. Also, head over to our YouTube channel and make sure that you subscribe and click that notification bell. And anything that you think you can do to help, or suggestions or ideas, mind you, I'll let you know, because some of you watching already know this. If you have an idea, I'm going to say, hey, that's a pretty good idea. Why don't you run with it? Why don't you develop it for us and help us figure out the budget? Because I got other stuff I'm working on at the moment, or I'm distracted. So it's hard to say which one at any moment. That's it for me tonight, guys. I really love and appreciate that you come out and join me on a Wednesday night like this. And I will be back again as usual next Wednesday at 7 p.m. Beyond that, I'm just going to say have a great night. Bye now.